Prophetic Mastery Moments, day 25. I'm talking to you about how God can speak to us very powerfully through our feelings, and that includes our feeling of compassion. I can remember a number of years ago, a leader of a church that we attended said that his heart, or he felt an overwhelming compassion to when he looked at a person that was in a wheelchair, and he didn't realize at the time that that was actually a prompting for him to potentially step in and pray. And I can remember how my heart was so saddened when I realized that he hadn't recognized that that was an invitation from God to step in and to offer the gift of healing, to pray for that young person that was bound in a wheelchair. I'm going to talk to you a little bit about how compassion can actually teach us and show us what it is that God is doing. And I truly believe that if we're given the compassion to do something for someone, that we also are given the authority to do something for someone, that it's not a complete waste of time to actually stop and offer prayer to someone like that. Jesus was moved by what he felt, and it prompted him to act. And we are encouraged that as he went, so too should we go. When Jesus went ashore, it reads at Mark 6:34, he saw a large crowd and he felt compassion for them because they were like sheep without a shepherd, and he began to teach them many things. He felt compassion for them. Remember, he only said what he heard the Father saying, he only did what he saw the Father doing. So he would have been looking into heaven, towards heaven, and seeing the Father inviting him to actually do something about what it was that he was doing. And he then stepped in. He saw the crowd, he felt compassion, then he acted. This is the pattern we're invited into as we learn how to hear God's voice through what we feel. Compassion is one of the most powerful ways that God can speak to us. He is a God of love. And so when we feel compassion, we are feeling an aspect of his love for that person, to do something about something that is actually happening for that person. We can actually make an offer. We can invite them into an interaction with God the Father, with us as intermediary, as ambassadors of Jesus Christ, as ambassadors of another kingdom, a kingdom that loves, that heals, and that wants to see people set free. That sudden wave of care for a stranger, the unexplainable burden for someone you don't even know, that gut feeling that someone needs prayer. They're not random emotions. They're God speaking to us through our feelings. We can see, hear, smell, taste, touch, feel things in our emotions, and that's God inviting us into offering him to a hurting world. When we feel compassion, it's often God drawing our attention to someone who needs him. And when we respond to that compassion, we become his hands and his feet in the world. I've experienced this countless times, and anyone who's read my stories will know this. There's a nudge to pray for an elderly woman, years ago in a public restroom, who I knew that I knew she had blessed many others for years and years. There's an overwhelming compassion for a drunk man at the park who was struggling with pain and addiction. Years of rejection he was struggling with. A feeling I couldn't ignore to pray for a mother and her children in a shopping center, even when I wanted to get to the movies on time. I'm ashamed to say, but I listened and I stopped, and we saw some crazy things happen, including the girl getting out of the wheelchair, having 2 broken legs, healed powerfully. Every time I've responded to that feeling of compassion, God has shown up powerfully. And every time he does that, it astonishes me. I am overwhelmed by how incredible our God is, how much he loves, and that he is willing to use someone like me to actually flow through to impact the world around me like that. I'm like a kid in a lolly shop, or what you would say in America, a kid in a candy store. Hearts have been healed Bodies have been restored. People have encountered the God who sees them right where they are. And here's the truth, that when you feel compassion for someone, that's God inviting you to partner him with him in loving that person. It might be very inconvenient. It might feel awkward, and you might feel unqualified. I still do. But God uses ordinary people who simply say yes to his direction when prompted by what they feel, to turn to him for guidance. If we will feel the compassion and say, God, are you telling me? Is there something that you want me to do? And we listen and we learn to recognize and respond to his voice. He will then guide us as to what to do, what to say, what to pray. If anyone is thirsty, it reads at John 7:38 to 39, let him come to me and drink. Whoever believes in me, streams of living water will flow from within him. When we respond to the compassion we feel, we become streams of living waters for thirsty souls. So have a look. I've got two testimonies that are really powerful testimonies. One's that I reread them and I'm still astounded at how amazing God is. The first one is the God who sees, part 2, when I interacted with a drunk man at the local football oval when I was walking the dog. And I felt at times an overwhelming compassion to the point of being nearly in tears. But I also felt an overwhelming compassion to give him a hug, and I ended up giving him a hug. I'm cautious in those situations. Obviously, there's ways of wisdom to conduct yourself, but I've had enough experience with that sort of thing to know that it was okay in that situation, and I offered to hug him. And then there's obviously Christmas shopping with Jesus. 10 divine appointments in one afternoon of Christmas shopping with Jesus, where a girl with 2 broken legs ends up walking. Her brother, who had autism and had been violent, is completely set free from that violent spirit. And a mother is set free from wanting to commit suicide, who sobbed and held me, all from God prompting me to pray. In that testimony, you'll actually see compulsion and compassion, 2 different feelings that you can actually feel when it comes to responding to the voice of God. He can sometimes compel us to do something. We can read about that in Jude. I'll cover that maybe tomorrow. And then there's the other compassion, when you feel an overwhelming compassion to stop for someone or to pray for someone. Don't discount the compassion you feel. It might be God's way of pointing you to someone who desperately needs him. So have a look at those testimonies. I've put those links in the description. Have a look at those. That I'm still in awe of God who and I lived it. It's just absolutely crazy. And while I'm here this week, I'm going to be doing 3 hours over 3 days of some completely free training on praying like royalty. No more begging prayers, but we will be learning how to proclaim a thing, how to declare a thing, how to release declarations, how to step into our authority and release what it is that God is showing us and telling us to do, how we can actually step away from pauper-like prayers into kingdom declarations. And it's not to say that we are taking away God's royalty at all. We're not, but we are co-heirs with Christ, and he has asked us to be about the Father's business. And as such, we all have an authority that we function in, and we need to learn how to release that authority in the form of our prayers, whether they are prophetic acts or prophetic proclamations or prophetic prayers or intercession, or whatever they actually might be. Come along to that. I'll pop details of that into the chat as well, so that you can feel free to join me those 3 days completely free. There's no tricks up my sleeve at all, completely free. If you would like to have the replays, you'll have replays for 3 days. Sorry, not for 3 days, for an entire week. You'll have an entire week for those to catch up on any that you missed the live for. There is a VIP upgrade. You don't need to join the VIP upgrade, but there is a VIP upgrade. If you would like to join the VIP upgrade, you will get access to those recordings permanently. And you will also, by way of saying thank you, get access to an extra hour live on Zoom where a whole lot of the prophetic mastery students, the prophetic mastery community, will be prophesying over you only during the live Zoom calls, not on any of the replays. Only on the live Zoom calls. But of course, I will always be saying to you, as I do whenever it is that I prophesy live as well, you are more powerful as a person who's receiving a prophetic word. It is your job and your privilege to weigh every single word, no matter how powerful or otherwise the person who is prophesying over you. It doesn't matter whether they're on a platform or they're just a beautiful little 3-year-old who's prophesying over you, which my son used to prophesy to people, and it'd blow their minds how accurate he was when he barely could put a sentence together, because God is no respecter of persons, and he can prophesy through babes just as much as he can prophesy through the most powerful prophet. But we must be responsible to weigh a word, to discern whether or not it resonates with the kingdom frequency. And if it doesn't resonate, we flush it, or at best, we put it on a shelf. I've been prophesied over by some very powerful people, and I've actually flushed some because I've known that what was being prophesied was actually for their own selfish desires as opposed to what was best for me. So, if they're not prophesying from love, if they're not prophesying with your best interests at heart, then that is actually a really good legitimate reason for flushing something, or at best putting it up on the shelf and to assess it properly. Anyway, I'm diverting. Compassion, compulsion, very, very legitimate ways to hear God in the moment. And we stop and we ask God, what is it that you're saying to me? What is it that you would like me to do? And then we listen and we discern what he's actually saying. And then we step out with all due diligence, making sure that we're releasing love, because of course we might prophesy with the most amazing people, with the most amazing gift, but if we have not love, we are just simply noise. So most beautiful stories that will highlight that for you. Have a look at that. Come join our free training this week. And if you want to join the VIP, do that too. It's going to be a lot of fun. All right. We'll catch you soon. The landing page for that event is in the chat. And I'll see if I can see you tomorrow. All right. It's great to see some of you. Ross and Wild O Live Tree. Okay. And Pop 3, yes. So hello to you all. And hello to everybody else, including lots of love to Kathleen, who's on the call as well. All right. We'll catch